Kondanna has understood. The moment the eye of Dharma opened in the first disciple. According to the tradition, after the Buddha gave his first sermon in Deer Park, the eye of Dharma opened for the first time, in the heart of one of the 5 ascetics. His name was Kondanna. The Buddha had taught the middle way beyond the 2 extremes, and he had explained suffering, the cause of suffering, the ending of suffering, and the path that leads to the ending of suffering. But this teaching did not remain only as spoken words. In the heart of one listener, it began to become understanding. Tonight's story follows that quiet and sacred moment, when the Dharma first reached another person's heart, and became a living path. The air in Deer Park was calm. Soft light rested over the trees, and the 5 ascetics sat in silence before the Buddha. They had once practiced severe austerity with him. They had once believed that tormenting the body was the way to liberation. And when Siddhartha accepted nourishment from Sujata, and left the path of extreme self-denial, they believed he had given up the holy life. They left him, thinking that he had turned away from the path. But now, as they sat before him again, something was different. The one who stood before them was no longer only the seeker they had once known. His face was peaceful, his steps were steady, his eyes were clear, there was no pride in him, and there was no desire to prove himself. There was only a deep stillness, like a lake after all winds had passed. At first, the hearts of the 5 ascetics were not fully open. They still believed that harsh discipline was the highest path. They still thought that a practice without self-torment was a weaker path. But the Buddha did not scold them. He did not argue with them. He did not try to win their respect by force. Instead, he calmly revealed what he had seen through his own life. He had known the comfort of the palace. He had known the pain of the forest. He had passed through both pleasure and austerity. And he had seen that neither extreme was the final answer. Then the Buddha looked at the 5 ascetics and spoke. Seekers, do not follow the 2 extremes. The path of being lost in sense pleasure does not lead to true awakening. The path of tormenting oneself does not lead to true awakening. The Tathagata has seen the middle way beyond these 2 extremes. The words settled gently into the quiet air of Deer Park. The middle way was not a weak compromise. It was not a careless path between 2 choices. It was not indulgence, and it was not self-hatred. It was a clear and noble path that saw life as it was, looked honestly at suffering, and slowly released the roots of clinging. As the 5 ascetics listened, the old belief they had held so tightly began to tremble. Then the Buddha spoke about suffering. He showed how birth, aging, illness, death, separation from what we love, meeting what we do not want, and not receiving what we long for can all become suffering. He showed that suffering does not appear without a cause. It arises through craving, clinging, and ignorance. The heart reaches for what is pleasant and wants it to remain. The heart pushes away what is painful and wants it to disappear. The heart tries to hold changing things as if they could stay the same forever. And through that grasping, fear, sorrow, anxiety, and restlessness arise. The Buddha's teaching was not a word of blame. It was a quiet lamp placed before the heart. It showed how the mind becomes bound, and how the mind may begin to be free. Then the Buddha spoke again. There is suffering. There is a cause of suffering. There is an ending of suffering. And there is a path that leads to the ending of suffering. These words were simple, but they were very deep. They were not a speech meant to impress anyone. They were not a doctrine meant to defeat other teachings. They were a clear seeing of life. They showed that suffering should not be ignored, but understood. They showed that suffering should not be hated, but seen clearly. They showed that if suffering has a cause, then freedom is possible when that cause is released. Kondanna was listening. According to the tradition, Kondanna had been connected to the Buddha's path from the very beginning. He is remembered as one who had once seen the signs of Siddhartha's future and believed that the child would one day become awakened. For many years, he had waited, practiced, and followed the path of seeking. But waiting for a long time does not always mean understanding has arrived. Hearing many teachings does not always mean the heart has opened. True understanding does not come only from the amount of knowledge we collect. It comes when the heart is ready, and when the teaching and life meet in one clear moment. That day, such a moment arose in Kondanna's heart. The Buddha's words did not remain outside him as explanations. They entered the shape of his own life. He began to see his own years of striving. He began to see the belief he had held so tightly. He began to see why suffering arises, what the heart clings to, and why trying to make changing things permanent brings pain. The idea that harsh austerity alone was the answer began to loosen. The middle way became clear. The origin of suffering became clear. The possibility of release became clear. According to the meaning preserved in the tradition, a deep realization opened in Kondanna's heart. Whatever arises is subject to passing away. This was not a cold statement that everything is only lost. It was a clear seeing of reality. If something arises through causes, it changes when those causes change. If suffering arises through craving and clinging, then suffering can fade when craving and clinging are released. If the heart is bound by what it grasps, then the heart can begin to be free when it sees clearly and lets go. In that moment, Kondanna did not merely understand the Dharma with his thoughts. He began to see with the eye of Dharma. The opening of the eye of Dharma does not mean seeing a distant magical world. It means seeing this life differently. It means seeing that what arises also changes. It means seeing that clinging brings suffering. It means seeing that the heart suffers when it tries to hold what cannot be held. And it means seeing that because bondage has causes, release is also possible. The Buddha saw that this understanding had opened in Kondanna's heart. He saw that the Dharma had not only been spoken, it had been received, it had taken root in another life. And with quiet joy, the Buddha said, "Kondanna has understood. Truly, Kondanna has understood." These words were not a casual praise. They were a solemn recognition. The Buddha was seeing that the path he had awakened to beneath the Bodhi tree was now alive in the heart of another person. The Dharma had crossed from teacher to disciple. The light had passed from one awakened heart into the beginning of another understanding. This was a very important beginning in the Buddhist tradition. The awakening beneath the Bodhi tree was the liberation of the Buddha. The first sermon was the moment that awakening became teaching. But Kondanna's understanding was the moment that the teaching first took root in someone else's heart. From that moment, the Dharma was no longer only something the Buddha had realized. It became a path that others could hear, see, practice, and walk. When the tradition says that Kondanna understood, it does not simply mean that he was clever. It means that a long-prepared heart had finally opened. It means that a mistaken attachment to one harsh path had softened. It means that the desire for truth had found a clear direction. It means that suffering was no longer only something to endure, and liberation was no longer only a distant hope. A door had opened, a path had become visible, and the first disciple had begun to see. This story also speaks to our own lives. Sometimes we hear a truth many times before we truly understand it. Sometimes words pass by us for years, and then one day they quietly enter the heart. A sentence we once ignored becomes clear. A lesson we once resisted becomes gentle. A truth we thought we knew suddenly becomes something we can feel in our own life. This kind of understanding does not always come with loud emotion. It may come in silence. It may come after repeating the same mistake many times. It may come after loss, after weariness, after a night of deep reflection, or after finally admitting that what we are holding cannot be held forever. The eye of Dharma opening does not always mean that all suffering disappears at once. But it means that we begin to see the direction of suffering. We begin to see why the heart becomes bound. We begin to see what we have been clinging to. We begin to see where release may begin. Even this beginning can change a life. After Kondanna understood, things were no longer the same. The teaching had entered the world not only as sound, but as realization. A listener had become a disciple. A disciple had begun to see the path. And the Dharma, which had first turned in Deer Park, now had its first root in the heart of another human being. May we also listen with a quiet and ready heart. May we not rush past the truths that life is gently showing us. May we see where we cling, where we fear change, and where we try to hold what is already passing. And may a small eye of Dharma open within us, not with noise or pride, but with calm understanding. If this story remained quietly in your heart, please subscribe and like to join me. In the next story, we will hear about the 5 monks taking refuge. The ascetics who once practiced with the Buddha will receive his teaching, and the first Sangha will begin to form. I will share that quiet beginning of the Buddhist community in the next story.